Good evening, I am Cyril Stover, and this is America Decides, reaching you on the network of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now, it is the much-anticipated U.S. presidential election night. The next president of the United States emerges tonight to occupy, for the next 4 years, what's seen as the world's most powerful seat. Now, every nation on the globe with specific interest in trade issues, security, regional influence, or socio-cultural affiliation is monitoring the unfolding election with different degrees of excitement. Now, in Nigeria, Africa's largest economy, the interest is more than casual, as the United States is also one of Nigeria's biggest trading partners, with increased visibility in the areas of security, health, power, agriculture, and of course, this administration's anti-corruption drive. Now, socio-culturally, Nigeria, being Africa's most populous nation, leans towards the U.S., which has African Americans as its largest racial minority. Now, last year, the U.S. Census Bureau estimated that 46 million African Americans are currently living in the U.S., with a significant number being of Nigerian descent. Tonight, the Nigerian Television Authority, Africa's largest TV network, will follow the latest battle for the White House, giving you up-to-the-minute details as events unfold with a unique Nigerian outlook to America's immediate political destiny. We'll be operating from our headquarters studio here, as well as Yar'Adua Center, also in Abuja, Nigeria's capital city, where the U.S. Embassy has set up an election night watch. Of course, we'll also link up with our correspondents in the U.S. while discussing with a team of analysts right here. But first, let's go over to Yar'Adua Center, where my colleague Muhammad Kudu Abubakar is operating from, to tell us what we expect to see from that center. Muhammad.
Thank you, Cyril. Today, the world is on the verge of witnessing yet another chapter open in the history books as Americans freely elect who will be the country's 45th president. The essentials of democratic governance are, however, not limited to the United States, as indeed they are applicable to any nation that aspires to be a democratic. Nigeria shares these values with the United States, as do dozens of other countries in Africa and around the world. Free and fair elections are the foundation of democracy, and while the mechanism for election vary from country to country, the essentials are the same for all true democratic societies. For us here in Nigeria, there are lessons to be learned and examples to draw from the U.S. election. Not only did Nigeria fashion its presidential system of government after the U.S., both countries operate the bicameral legislature and have huge number of states. We also share commonalities in massive population, diversity in religion, ethnicity, and general complexities. And so here at the Sheikh Musa Yar'Adua Center in the heart of Abuja city, we shall be learning more about the processes of U.S. presidential elections and the mock voting, which held a few minutes ago here at the Yar'Adua Center. Indeed, the result of the mock voting are expected to be a pointer to a new era in American political history. Later, at 11 p.m. tonight, here at the Yar'Adua Center, we will be linking up via Google Hangout or Skype to listen to a U.S. election speaker. At about 1:15 a.m., we expect an election results update from a U.S. Embassy staff. They are scheduled at specific junctures here at the Yar'Adua Center. At about 2 a.m. Wednesday morning, we shall also have another update. A winner is likely to be known and announced by 6 a.m. Wednesday morning. And at 7:30 a.m. Wednesday morning, the charge d'affaires to the U.S. Embassy in Nigeria, Ambassador David Young, is scheduled to issue an election statement. And he is also expected to take questions and give answers to questions by a cross-section of journalists who are all here at the Yar'Adua Center. But with me, I am not the only person here in the studio of our studio in the Eradua Center. Of course, I have two experts. I have with me from my left, Kabir Matu, a professor of political science. Professor Kabir Matu, welcome to the Eradua Center studio of the NTA.
Thank you very much, Kudu.
On my immediate left is Odile Nwagbara, an economist and political commentator. Cyril, that is the outline from the Eradua Center. Back to you at the studio.
All right, Muhammad. Well, just in case for viewers who are watching this, just in case you notice that so much ambience there, it's because there's a lot going on at the Eradua Center. And, well, of course, as he said to you, it's going to be a comprehensive coverage all night. We expect that we'll continue with this broadcast until the early hours of Wednesday. By then, hopefully, we should know who the next president of the United States is. But back here, we've lined up a number of reports, and we also have a team of analysts. We'll be introducing them to you at some point in time. But let's begin this way to say, in addition to strong diplomatic ties and other commonalities, a veritable way of measuring the importance of countries to each other is via their economic relations. Nigeria-US economic relations have witnessed fluctuating fortunes. Now, from a period of low between 1960 and 1998 to one of boom, that's from the present democratic dispensation in 1999, to the signing of the Binational Commission in 2010. Finance and economy correspondent Cliff Ayoze has a report on that.
The United States, until recently, remained the largest foreign investor in Nigeria, with the U.S. foreign direct investment concentrated in petroleum, mining, and wholesale trade sectors, including cocoa. U.S. exports to Nigeria include wheat, vehicles, machinery, oil, and plastic. Since the establishment of diplomatic relations between Nigeria and America in 1960, the country has continued to enjoy a favorable balance of trade in spite of occasional fluctuations. For instance, in 1985, U.S. imports from Nigeria stood at $3 billion, exports at $675 million, indicating a $2.3 billion balance for Nigeria. For 5 years, from 1989 to 1993, U.S. imports from Nigeria hit the $5 billion mark, with Nigeria enjoying over $4 billion balance. The highest U.S. exports to Nigeria within the period was $831 million in 1991. Yet, 2004 to 2012 could be seen as the golden years of Nigeria-U.S. trade relations. American imports from Nigeria surged from $16 billion in 2004 to $38 billion in 2008, before dropping to $19 billion in 2012, and continues to slide till this year. It is on record that Hillary Clinton, then U.S. Secretary of State, midwifed the signing of the 2010 U.S.-Nigeria Binational Commission. The agreement, described as a gateway into Africa, focuses on key areas of mutual interest, including good governance, transparency and integrity, energy and investment, regional security, the Niger Delta, agriculture and food security. This landmark agreement impacted positively on U.S.-Nigeria trade relations. In 2010, U.S. imports from Nigeria stood at $30 billion, exports at $4 billion, with Nigeria enjoying $26 billion favorable trade balance. In 2011, U.S. imports hit $33 billion, while exports stood at $4.9 billion, and Nigeria smiling home with balance of $28.949 billion. Frosty relations with America saw imports from Nigeria cascading from $19 billion in 2012 to $3.8 billion in 2014, with a balance of $2.1 billion tilting in favor of the United States. U.S. imports dropped further to $1.9 billion in 2015, with $1.5 billion surplus against Nigeria. Within the period, good governance, corruption, and Nigeria's realignment of its trade interests towards Asia were called to question. In the non-oil trade, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, for more than 10 years, offered Nigeria and other sub-Saharan countries preferential trade benefits. But poor quality of goods, packaging, and other factors left Nigeria making less than 2% impact. With the election of President Muhammadu Buhari, who is tackling insecurity, corruption, and the economy, trade relations between Nigeria and the U.S. appear to be looking up, with U.S. imports from Nigeria as at August 2016 put at $2.6 billion and exports at $1.2 billion, tilting the balance back in favor of Nigeria. However, the increasing decline of Naira against the U.S. dollar, currently exchanging at over 300 Naira to $1 US, poses a challenge. What could be the picture of Nigeria-U.S. trade relations going forward? The answer surely lies with the choice of the American voter.
All right, thank you so much, Cliff Ayose, for that report. Yes, talking about Nigeria-U.S. trade relations, but let's introduce our guest here in the studio to you as we delve into that, which, of course, Cliff has set up with that background report. I'd like to welcome to our studios, America Decides studio, Professor Chudi Wazurike, a former Harvard scholar and a former member of the House of Representatives. Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. All right, let's also welcome to this program Malam Abdullahi Alhaji Dauda. Thanks for being here tonight. Yeah. Okay. We are also joined tonight by Ambassador Joe Keshi, who's a retired permanent secretary for many years in the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Thanks for being here, Ambassador.
Thank you.
Let me also welcome tonight Professor Jibrin Ibrahim, a senior fellow, Center for Democracy and Development. It's good to see you.
Thank you.
And also joining us here tonight, let's welcome Ambassador Akin Fayomi, a former ambassador to France. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much.
All right, so we saw the report, gentlemen, and we're talking about Nigeria-U.S. trade relations. And we have on record that a whopping 30 billion United States dollars deficit grew within just 3 years. That's between 2012 and 2015. Now, what happened that we lost so much ground with the U.S.?
Well, very clearly, the U.S. and Nigeria may well occupy different universes when it comes to economic strength. You know, the old model of international development that looks at dependency and globalization and the whole question of newly industrializing countries, such as Nigeria, assuming we're even there. We're not even there. Negotiating and doing business with more advanced economies is always fraught with a lot of potential disparities and all kinds of issues. So I'm not surprised that at the end of the day, this sort of imbalance will be there. But it's also very clear that the collapse of the oil industry, the way this has gone over the past 5 years, is partly to blame. There may be other factors, but I've always worried that poor African countries negotiating with G8 countries, there's no way we can come out ahead. No, there's no way. You know, very clearly the promise of intra-African trade and some degree of South-South type of economic reorientation may well be the way to go down the line. At this point in time, America still is a preferred trading partner, but we need to diversify. So there are all kinds of issues, and that's one reason why a chief economist will be very helpful at this stage in Nigeria's development. So we'll see where things are going.
All right. Well, yes, oil, like you said, played a part of it. But Malam Abdullahi Dauda, there are all those who still believe that, yes, at a point in time, we had that much trade, we had that much relations with the U.S., but usually these things are skewed in favor of the U.S. It's what is in their interest. So at the point that the U.S. didn't have that much interest in one or two things here, and that's part of the reason why we lost ground.
Yeah, definitely. as he stated, in terms of the negotiating power and also in terms of the trade imbalance and the rest. And I think the one lesson as we continue with this relationship is, as Nigerians, we need to start looking inwards and the diversification to do things for Nigerians in Nigeria, because of the trade, the imbalance of the currency flow also is impacted here. Yeah. The more we do internally in building our stuff, because we have the capacity, we have the capability, we just have to provide support to build those industry and those factories locally here in Nigeria. The West can help. Rather than come do it, they should come and share the knowledge, and the knowledge should be here internally in Nigeria. So we need to look more inwards to build things rather than importing all the time.
Ambassador Keshi, it's usually the case they say the strong negotiating with the weak. You don't have you don't have the instrument to really press that. So how do you recover this ground that you've lost? Yes.
Well, we can recover the ground in a number of ways. And one way, of course, is to build up our own productive capacity. When we build up our own productive capacity, we'll be in a position to export quite a number of items or goods. Because as has been rightly pointed out, we traded mainly in oil to start with. And when the U.S. became self-sufficient, particularly when they started fracking, which produced quite substantial oil for the U.S., U.S. practically at that time didn't need, some of its clients around the world. And so as long as our economy is not diversified, as long as we have nothing to trade with our development partners, our trading partners, we'll be at the receiving end. There's no other magic to this. There's no magic to this. It's just that even today, you find that when we hear in this country that the price of oil is going up, we're all very happy. No, we shouldn't be. What we should be doing actually is forget about oil completely and focus on creating a productive economy. When you have a productive economy that is properly diversified, and I think in a way, our economy is gradually, we just have to push a little bit more in some critical areas so that when we begin to say, look, take a good example is China. China virtually produces everything. A couple of years ago, China was in our position, was probably not doing well with everybody. But today, China has overtaken everybody. What did they do? They just went into production. And that is what we have to do. And I've made this point so many times, particularly on your that, look, if when this administration came on board and the president said, look, I don't care about oil. I'm going to be the Minister for Agriculture. I'm going to be the Minister for Solid Mineral. Everybody in this country will begin to look at agriculture or begin to look at solid mineral because the president is keenly interested in that. So again, let me just say, the answer is simple. The future lies in production. If we do not produce, we'll be in the same boat we are. Secondly, also, the most important thing, a couple of years ago, I think under President Clinton, they created this AGUA. A number of African countries have seized the the opportunity of AGUA to create a market and products that they could send into the United States. Mauritius is one, and a couple of others. But we have not even seized the opportunity of AGUA, and we would have been the beneficiary if we've done a couple of things right.
All right. Okay, but Professor Jibril, also those who say, looking at it, it will still be what interests the U.S. in what we have and what advantage they can take of what we have. But because if you look back, it was the same Hillary Clinton who, along with Nigeria's foreign minister, midwifed what's seen as the Nigeria-U.S. Binational Commission in 2010. Now, what are the prospects of boosting trade between the countries if we have a Clinton presidency?
I think the key principle is that no external party will come and develop your country for you. You have to do what it takes to advance your interest and to develop your economy. Unfortunately, we've failed for a very long time. It was quite interesting last weekend reading the long interview by Philip Asiodu, who was a super permanent secretary, and he explained 1970 we became a one-product country, petroleum. And they sat in cabinet and took the decision that we must diversify the economy. Based on that decision, the 1975-80 development plan was worked out specifically to diversify the economy away from oil, use the proceeds from oil, develop agriculture, which was the previous mainstay of the economy, but above all, go into industrialization. Subsequently, nothing happened. People in power decided it's simply easier to steal the money for their own private aggrandizement. And that's what's been happening. And every government comes in and repeats the same thing, that we must diversify. So they say it, but then they do not do it. And that's why when opportunities came, like the AGOA that has just been mentioned, we are not able to take it because we are developing nothing to export. We have nothing to share. And when, therefore, fracking became a key issue in the US, and that one product could no longer, was no longer desired by the Americans, that was when the balance of trade collapsed completely, because we had absolutely nothing else to sell to them. And of course, if today our currency is in the situation it is, it's precisely due to the same problem. But I think one key issue looking forward is that the situation has come to a level where it's no longer possible to survive on this economy, a rent economy. So it's either we collapse completely or we do something to save ourselves. And I think now that 27 states in this country can't even pay salaries, and the federal government may find himself in the same situation.
There's really no advantage to having a Clinton presidency, even though she helped to midwife that binational commission, unless we get our act together.
Well, yes, because the opportunities have always existed since 1975. Some countries use the opportunities who are not able to use those opportunities that emerged.
Okay, let's come to Ambassador Fayobi. Well, if that is the case, then you could say there's not much to really expect from a Trump presidency if Donald Trump wins, because it's still about us.
Yes, I know, but I won't totally agree that
All right.
we'll be dumped.
It's setting a trap for you.
Trump has a Clinton, right?
You see, the binational commission that we've been talking about is not only focused on trade. So you see, so we still have a lot to gain from a Clinton presidency in the binational commission. She was part of it, like you rightly mentioned, with Juma Dike when he was minister. So you know, on security, on infrastructure, on power, on energy, we have so many subcommittees in the binational commission, which meets regularly both here in Abuja and in Washington. So we still have a lot to gain if she comes in, because she knows the ropes about the binational commission. But in terms of agua and the rest of the trade issues, you know, it's been said, we cannot rely on oil. We can't be a mono economy in Nigeria. Because of that, trade imbalance will continue until we have something that we are going to export to the US.
Even if you do have what you'll export, you still would not have the leverage, the immediate leverage you would need to negotiate to your advantage, would you?
Not really, but we don't really have to have that leverage. We want to close the imbalance in trade.
Right.
And we can do that through AGWA. AGWA, so many other countries have anything to offer into AGWA because we have nothing to export apart from oil.
All right.
Well,
then,
okay.
It's still a long night to go.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, but that's about steel. If you're talking of economic, economic development, doing all these things, there's no steel industry to talk of.
Okay, we'll come to that. We'll come to that. But we'll be returning to Eredua Center shortly. But before then, let's take a short break and bring you some messages.
A technology emerges that transforms a nation. Close new 4G network is exactly that. It is by far the fastest mobile internet in Nigeria and the first with nationwide coverage. Government institutions and big business will have the tools they need to build the powerhouse of Africa. Small business will be enabled to make the big leap. Medical procedures will be more advanced and your home will become truly smart. With our most extensive national optic fiber network linked seamlessly to Glo1 submarine cable, it is data speed and capacity beyond imagination. 4G will accelerate Nigeria's progress into the Super League, and everyone will see their lives change beyond recognition. The wait is over. Welcome to 4G LTE from Glo. Welcome to the new speed of life.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
Come see, come this gizzard. Put the data liver.
Yes, I'll go put Oga. This is who you have plenty.
Why you shake now? What do they worry? Cut them down.
Make I put this one go. Your money pay to pay for this one, Suya.
I don't pay already now. See, if you pay yesterday, you know they pay today. Now free tomorrow now.
Make I tell you, wallahi this one not be close to your support. Pretty tomorrow, it never reach here. Wallahi you kwa. Somebody like you are go pay me my money now.
Now lie there everywhere.
What if? You are go pay me for my suya. Like pay me my money now.
Yeah, calm down.
Calm down. As you talk my meat, like tell me now who are go pay for this suya? Who go pay for all this meat? You tell me my suya.
Whatever airtime or data you use, in one day you can get double the amount back tomorrow to browse, text, and talk to all networks. Free. Dial *600# today.
The largest data network, Glo, grandmasters of data.
Right, thanks for staying with us. Just to say you can send your comments and contributions via our social media handles. On Facebook, it's NTA Network News, using the hashtag, of course, #NTA America Decides. And also on Twitter at NTA News Now, using the hashtag #America Decides. So you can keep those comments and contributions coming through. Now, it's been nearly 1.5 years since former U.S. Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and property mogul Donald Trump, the two major candidates in the 2016 U.S. presidential election, formally declared their intention for the race. It's their declaration. But Nnamdi Odipo takes us back in time with an account of how it all started for both candidates leading up to today's crucial election in the United States.
For many across the world, these announcements was hardly surprising.
I'm running for president.
But this one was.
I am officially running for President of the United States.
The current nomination process